Hello everyone, welcome to the Crystaly Recapped channel. The movie begins with a demonstration of Rick when he notices that his mother is unconscious. He calls 911 and after a few minutes, paramedics and a police officer arrive. The officer asks several questions and takes all the evidence. In one of the letters, Lucy confesses that she knows about Rick's affair with her friend. Rick begins to suspect who else might know this and swears he had no other choice. 2 weeks ago, he was in love with Nina all his life but couldn't confess. He has a brother and a sister, Kristen, who works as a dancer in a club. Their mother, Lucy, drinks all the alcohol in the house every day and dreams of divorcing her husband. Joseph asks Rick to return a special cassette, and Rick gives it to him, after which Joseph immediately leaves. Rick and his sister work at the same club, owned by Jimmy. He asks to find the girl who didn't come to work. However, she doesn't want to go anywhere and offers a special service for Rick to say she's sick. A little later, he comes to his friend. Mrs. Bender opens the door, and Rick freezes. The woman understands that he came to Billy and offers to visit. Friends talked a bit, after which Bender asked Billy to go to the store. Left alone, she uses her advantages and has some fun. A new day comes, and Rick thinks about yesterday, thinking about how to hide it from other people. During the break, Carlos, the son of an influential gangster, appears to him. He offers to make a bet that Rick won't be able to start dating Nina, and Rick agrees. He has no more than 2 weeks. Rick doesn't understand why he agreed. Now he has to pay $1,000 for losing. Suddenly, the spirit of Holy Lola appears. She appears at the toughest moments of teenagers and assures Rick that everything will be fine. Exiting into the corridor, he learns that Nina has broken up with her boyfriend, which means Holy Lola was right. During the lesson, he manages to attract Nina's attention, but their lesson is interrupted by the sudden death of the teacher. All classes are canceled, and Rick uses this chance to get to know Nina. He suggests going to the teacher's funeral. Their conversation is noticed by Kevin, who asks what they are talking about. Nina intentionally agrees to Rick's proposal. Kevin swears to kill Rick. After the funeral, the trio listens to music. Nina recognizes the musician and says how much she likes the music. Rick decides to say that he personally knows the performer of the song and has tickets to the upcoming concert. Nina suggests going to get them with Rick when suddenly their car is rear-ended. The priest asks for forgiveness and suggests not calling the police. Rick wants Jimmy to find tickets and backstage passes. Jimmy agrees to help, but before that, Rick has to complete a small task. He needs to buy special pills. He still needs to find a car. Bender can help him with that, but only after completing another task. A new day comes. Bender hands over the keys and suggests Billy go with Rick. Closer to the night, the trio arrives at Jimmy's. He says he deceived Rick and didn't intend to buy tickets for him. Rick notices his father's car in the parking lot. They hear screams from the neighboring room and knock on this door. Rick uses the situation and apologizes to Nina for the ruined evening. Nina asks not to worry, she had fun. The next day, Rick notices the priest leaving Bender's house. The priest feels uncomfortable and leaves, while Bender wants to continue the show. Returning to class, the students are introduced to a new teacher, but the woman dies a few minutes later. This is already the third Latin teacher who has died in 2 days. The principal didn't like the fact that the duo argued about the life expectancy of a nun. He is going to impose severe punishment, but he is distracted by the secretary. Friends decide to see what the principal is hiding in his desk. There were many photos from the women's changing room. The principal pretends that the photos accidentally ended up in his drawer, but he agrees not to punish Rick and Billy until the end of the school year. After classes, Rick takes Nina home, and a little later, a mechanic who is repairing his mother's car calls him. The repair is delayed by a week, so Rick can choose any car for temporary use. He chooses an Aston Martin, and the trio enjoys the whole day. But their car is stopped by the police. Nina finds out that the car belongs to a gangster. It turns out Lucy's body was found in the trunk of the car. Now Rick is the main suspect. A lawyer of the priest comes to his aid, suggesting to make his father the main suspect. Rick agrees and tells the police that his father is the boss of the Lithuanian mafia. The officer doesn't believe and asks for evidence. Rick says his father is currently in Latvia. He is released and the lawyer asks for a ride home. During the trip, she starts to have a headache and she accidentally takes a special pill. After that, she feels happy and suggests coming in for a visit, but Rick refuses. Returning home, Rick notices that his sister has invited friends from work. Rick sees this as an excellent opportunity to earn. He suggests Billy organize a party at home for one night. Rick tells his sister that they need to throw a party, and she agrees. An hour later, many people came to the house. Even Bender came to visit. She takes Rick to the kitchen, and at the most unexpected moment, Billy comes in and doesn't understand what's going on, then takes Bender to another room. Rick calls Jimmy and asks how to reduce the effect of the pills. He agrees to help and comes to the party. Nina also comes to them, who was worried about Rick. He begins to tell her about his life and almost kisses her, but they are interrupted by Bender. Meanwhile, a Lithuanian mobster arrives at the party. As a result of the interrogation, Nina finds out about Rick's affair with Bender. Rick asks Nina to stop and listen to him, but Kevin approaches and reminds them that the dispute ends tomorrow. Nina tries to hit Rick but hits a police officer instead. A fight begins, and most people are taken to the police station. The school principal and Justin Bieber are also brought there. Rick learns from Nina that she liked him because he was different from everyone else, but she realizes she was very wrong and wants Rick to leave. On the way home, he begins to recall the past 2 weeks. It turns out that Joseph was sent to a Lithuanian prison because of his son's lie, but Rick assures him that he didn't say anything. Rick doesn't know what to do and decides to go to confession. The priest is shocked by what he hears and tries to beat the boy. Later, Bender comes to him. Rick tells her that Lucy found out their secret and suggests they go their separate ways. She agrees, but if Rick changes his mind, he knows where she lives. Rick comes to the hospital to visit his mother. He sees an empty bed and thinks she has died. Rick apologizes for his mistakes when suddenly Lucy calls him over, lying on another bed. They make peace, and Lucy assures Rick that he will be able to mend things with Nina. After that, he leaves. But first, he needs to answer for the lost bet. But Carlos stops and says he respects the person who angered his father. Then he goes to the lawyer and asks to release his friend from prison. After that, he returns to his mother. Rick notices Nina, who works at the hospital. The whole family reunites, and the children say how much they love Lucy. Rick happily leaves the hospital and almost gets into an accident. Nina comes out at the noise. Rick apologizes and confesses his love for her. After this, the duo kisses. This is the end of the movie. That's all for today. Subscribe and like if you want more videos like this.